All right, so let's take a look at how a project using the Caylent Accelerate approach to migrate a database from Oracle or SQL Server to Postgres or MySQL plays out. All projects will have, these stages of discovering and figuring out what all is there, all the way through launching and then extending that application, taking advantage of cloud native capabilities. The unique part here comes in our ability to leverage generative AI throughout the process. So starting at the very beginning, we're able to, using just the input code, provide a very accurate estimate because we're able to read, using generative AI, every line of every code, apply a knowledge base that Caylent's developed over time, and get a very accurate high-level estimate on a workload by workload basis. That feeds into our planning and design process, where we can say across multiple databases or multiple schemas or parts of an application within a larger application portfolio, we build a bespoke plan with you to help realize that transformation end to end. We then use generative AI to help accelerate the actual translation part as we start executing. That starts with converting the schemas. We use the Amazon schema conversion functionality within the DMS service to do that. We then use our own proprietary approach built on the latest large language models to do the translation. But the unique part comes in that we also move the data across such that we are able to then compare the results of the input of the store procedure function, C# function, Java call into the app with the Oracle or SQL Server backend and the Postgres or MySQL backend, and ensure that those come out as both the same results and in the same amount of time generally that it took to run on the source system. So getting to that parity. Now, the first pass on that does not succeed all that often. So we end up running through this process iteratively in an automated fashion across all of the code in parallel. So we generate, test, regenerate, retest, generate again, as many times as needed before sending the final result out for a human in the loop step, whether that's just final review and checking it into source control, or it's moving to a human edited code base across that last mile to clean up the last step to get a particularly complex SQL statement translated. Ultimately, that then enables you to get to that future state cloud native platform faster, reduce your maintenance costs, reduce your license costs, and start to take advantage of the cloud native capabilities. Now, zooming in on that from a technology perspective, the same process plays out here using all AWS cloud native technology and in your AWS environment. So as we're processing data, none of this ever leaves your AWS environment. It starts with the source database. In this case, we're showing SQL Server, but that could be Oracle, Sybase, whatever. We provide data extraction of all of the source code such that we can process it. And then we use the schema conversion service within DMS to convert and create the Postgres or MySQL schema. We then use the data replication functionality from DMS to move data across from the source schema to the target schema, taking into account any naming changes, so on, that got built over time. Now that we have that foundational underpinning in place, we leverage the SQL Polyglot capabilities, or the which is the code name underlying Caylent Accelerate, to take all of those code objects, translate them, install them on the target database, run them on the source and the target, and produce that automated loop that we just talked about, such that they can retry as many times as needed until they're either complete or going back to a person. During that validation step, we obviously need access to both the source database and the target database in a development environment. Once it's done, you get the human in the loop review, commit into source control, such that you can then follow your deployment processes to move this up into a QA or staging and eventually into your production environment. We're not doing this in a way that we're modifying any databases in production. Ultimately, this process allows us to take advantage of the scale of the cloud, the pre-built components from AWS, and bring Caylent's unique knowledge base and approach to play to take the capabilities of generative AI from where they are natively up to a much higher level, achieving that 3x improvement in terms of the amount of time it takes to get through one of these end-to-end migrations.